We are live.
We're
dude.
here.
We're
Actual
here. We're
live.
An actual live podcast. Yeah, first time. Just we just said, you know what? We barely edit this thing anyway. Let's
This
go
is a
for it.
performance. There's a live studio audience, in fact.
We
in front
are
of us,
performers, and I feel like people need to respect that.
It's true. Dude, I'm SAG-AFTRA, man. I should be getting paid for this. Just kidding.
I do feel like people
That
need to respect that.
This is non-union. We didn't get a waiver.
Dude, you're getting a shutdown here. You're going to get a shutdown.
Bryan Cranston is going to come and give a speech outside of our houses.
You're going to make us lose any particular. You're going to lose your membership.
Yeah, that would be terrible. I
You're
pay
not even
my
allowed to
dues.
promote this.
Yeah, I pay my union dues.
You do a good job. You do a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I try.
But yeah, so our first live episode, it's one of those weeks where I feel like nothing really happened, but then I look at all the articles, I'm like, good God.
Yeah.
How did all these things happen?
It's crazy, man. It's, if you're looking for an industry and a hobby that you'll always have something to be excited or mad about, video games are great.
Yeah.
They're great. If you enjoy your emotions, you enjoy feeling them, you enjoy losing control of them, video games are great. Just the best.
Yeah, 100%. Just updating our stream info here.
Sure.
But yeah.
We had some releases, some news.
Yeah.
Some good,
happy Starfield Day.
Yeah, happy Starfield Embargo Day for all who celebrate.
Another week, another game.
Yeah, seriously. We've got, within the last 48 hours, it's like Sea of Stars, Starfield, a lot of stars going on. What's
Lots
happening?
Of stars.
Yeah. I think this is a conspiracy.
Yeah,
star-related
NASA's in on it.
Yeah,
and India went to the moon.
Yeah, India did go to the moon. Congratulations to India. That was awesome.
Kind of nuts.
Yeah, it is kind of nuts.
But Sea of Stars, let's talk about that. Sea of Stars, banger. It's so good.
Yeah,
it's so enjoyable.
You've been playing it a bit, right?
I've been playing it. I have Game Pass and I have PS Extra, and I opted to pay for it anyway on the OLED because
there you go.
The OLED it's just so gorgeous, dude. It just looks amazing. It really does.
I was on Best Buy earlier. I was thinking about it again.
Want to rip one?
Thinking about ripping a Switch OLED, but I swear to God, dude, the second I do,
just get a referbished one. Just get a refurbished one. I mean, we know that 2024 we're getting the Switch 2. Hopefully, it's later in the year. But I honestly think if you get a refurbished OLED for like $200 or whatever, that you won't feel bad about the purchase.
That's true, but I'm one of those people that I hate buying used things.
I'm the same way.
Yeah,
you could always get the Mario OLED.
That's true.
Just go, which I think is also like $25 more than normal or whatever.
Of course,
like
for the red Joy-Cons and the red
just
dock.
Like this.
Yeah,
this one. But the game looks gorgeous on the OLED screen, like truly gorgeous.
Yeah, it's crazy that screen quality can really, it's just so transformative, it goes such a long way. I don't have one, but I've used them in person, and it's pretty crazy. You can make old hardware go much further by, high quality screen. I wish 100%. The Steam Deck had an OLED. I would love if that was an option in whatever Valve does next, because I would get that in a second, just to have that extra, that color, that pop,
If they do a non-OLED for the Switch 2, we're gonna have problems. We're gonna have big problems.
It's tricky, once you get people used to something like that, it's hard to go back. I understand from a cost cutting perspective, but at the same time, it's people are gonna be like, well, I already have this OLED here. Why would I? You have to think of mainstream, quote unquote normies too, who are just they don't know the tech specs. They're just like, well, this has a nicer screen. So
Nintendo, why would I?
yeah, exactly.
I don't know why they wouldn't. I really don't know why they wouldn't. They're already producing the Switch with the OLED. They're familiar with the production process. They have production processes in place to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe with everything else that goes into it, if they feel like maybe it's going to be just too much for.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know the economics of the supply chain for that kind of thing. You know, it could be the difference of like they have to spend like $5 more or $20 more per console. I don't even know what it is. Or it could be that, you know, they know people will always buy hardware revisions for these things. So it's like, do it again, you know, drop a launch one and then later on
we
be like,
do
here's the
it
deluxe.
again. We do it. We do it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. But we'll see. I think you should do it. I personally,
Yeah, I
me
keep
personally,
thinking about it. Yeah.
I think you should do it. Because I think there's gonna be plenty more games too for you to rip on it.
Yeah,
right?
I thought I was going to be done after Tears of the Kingdom. Now I'm playing a bunch of Pikmin 4. I'm going to play Mario Wonder. Probably going to play Mario RPG. It's just like, oh god,
Mario Wonder
Nintendo.
is going to look amazing on the OLED.
I know, it's so colorful. It's going to pop like crazy.
It's going to look amazing on the OLED. Actually, we were going to talk about Mario Wonder, so maybe we can just start with that. And we'll just start with Mario Wonder.
Yeah, Nintendo just had a brief Nintendo Direct earlier where they talked about some of the more details of it.
Nintendo pumped out like a 5-minute Direct. It was so funny.
Dude, they were just like, here you go, whatever.
They literally were just like, it was like, I had it on in the background, like, and I looked over and it started, and I looked again, and like 5 minutes later it was over. I was like, wait, did it happen? Did I miss it?
You missed it. That's it. You can't get the game now.
Did you get to watch the Direct or no?
No, I didn't get a chance. I had a busy day of work.
I need to go watch it again. But I really liked what I was seeing. There's some really cool new features. Here's a cool article from Wired. I almost said The Wired.
The Wired.
From Wired, Super Mario Brothers wonders what happens when devs have time to play. Dude, they should be working and not unionizing. The fuck?
Yeah. What do you think this is? Fun and games?
Yeah, what do you think? Because Nintendo's upcoming Mario game had no deadline, its creators were able to experiment with new styles and move from the Mushroom Kingdom to the Flower Kingdom with delightfully trippy results. That is super cool. I didn't know it didn't have a deadline.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because when that first trailer for Mario Wonder came out, it's hard to even put into words. Like, it just felt so fresh. We were just like, this feels like they're just, I don't know, you know, it's 2D Mario, but like, there's just something about the attitude, the visual design, the humor. You got that sense that they're doing something new. And this explains so much of it. They were basically like, you know, we want to re-envision what it means to do a 2D Mario game and just experiment, you know, have time to play, to find things that are fun. And like, you know, we see this happen so often, like when games aren't beholden to, you know, shareholders or deadlines and stuff like that, you really get fun stuff because people have more time to treat it like an artistic and a playful process.
We talked about this a week or two ago. We need to let creative drive the work. Let the creative drive the work, and you will get good work that brings in profits.
Yeah.
You don't have to try to maximize every dollar out of the creative, because then you're not actually in the creative do the thing it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Be creative.
100%.
Yeah, this could have easily ended up being Mario, the new Super Mario Brothers 4.5 DX Wii port or whatever.
It's funny, like, for all of the crap that Nintendo pulls, and they pull a lot, like, it feels like they've been letting their developers just have a bit more fun recently and like have more time to do things like the whole Tears of the Kingdom, the fact that they delayed that for like, you know, a year basically to be like, yeah, we're just doing polish, we're cleaning things up because we know it'll be big and we want it to be great. They're doing this, just experimenting and trying new things out because like, I don't know what their policy was at the time, but it felt for a while there like, you know, just new Super Mario Bros. It was just like a formula, you know, it was all right, we have to get one of those out every like 3 or 4 years or whatever. Yeah, we gotta like, you know, sit down and
squeak out a Mario Maker in between.
Yeah, and squeak out Mario Maker 2. But this just feels like, you know, such a fresh take on it, which I'm so excited for. Like they go into some of the details here a bit with just treating it more like a freeform kind of open-ended exploration, which with a 2D side scroller like this, like in the Mario sense, where, you know, you've got your levels and your worlds and whatever, having freedom to kind of go in any direction, try them out of order, like find new secrets, new items and badges that change your abilities and stuff like that.
The
like,
badges are interesting, are really cool because it's like, it looks like they were able to kind of, by doing this badge system, they were able to put a lot of like care into each ability that you get. So it's not like you just like keep like you unlock. It's almost like you'd find an item in the level, but you get to like keep it forever, and then you can equip it and unequip it when you want it.
Yeah.
But because they like have that system around it, I'm sure they're also going to like look at how they balance all those badge abilities into the levels and the level design. It's almost going to be like Armored Core, where it's like you have to go back to your build and reassess it to clear certain things, I'm sure, which it's going to be really interesting to see that kind of spin on the classic formula. And even on top of that, it just looks amazing. Like it looks so clean. The animations look great. The character models look fresh. It's so cool. It's the only thing I don't like is when they have water in their trunks. They all look like they have like trunk cancer.
Yeah, it's like really a weird nose condition.
Yeah, it's very strange. Very strange.
I love this kind of freedom. It's so smart. I feel like Nintendo has done a lot of, the Switch has kind of been where they think outside the box with a lot of their franchises, and give them fresh takes. And this just feels like such a cool way to do that with the classic Mario 2D thing. Cause I think they have a kind of a philosophy there where when they're making something, they know like, well, every game could be someone's first game in the franchise. So, you can't like completely tear things down with, like there's certain fundamentals, even Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, like, it feels like a Zelda game with all of this additional freedom. Whereas this, they're like, it's a 2D Mario game. You're going from left to right, you're jumping, you're punching blocks. But within that, they can explore so much that will make veterans go, oh, wow, like this is so fun and new.
Yeah.
And,
it's super cool.
For a kid or for a person who's just never really played one before, they'll be like, oh, I get this. Like it explains itself.
Yeah, it's still 2D. Yeah. Still 2D Mario. But from a little bit from the article, it says, here's something you don't hear often in game development. When the team behind Super Mario Wonder was in the prototyping stage of the game, it had no due date. I wanted to prevent people from saying, we won't make that deadline, so that's why we didn't do it. We can't do it. Producer Takashi Tezuka says, for the game's director, Shiro Mori, it was very clear and very positive sign. They did not intend to make this game halfway. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which comes out October 20th, is the series' return to the format that originated the entire franchise, 2D side-scrolling. Mario is trading the Mushroom Kingdom for the Flower Kingdom, where Flora talks and special items can make the entire world tilt faster than a bad trip. And that whole Wonder mode is like insane. It looks so nuts. It almost looks like every level has like a regular and an alt stage kind of thing. But the alt stages just look like Willy Wonka on acid.
It just looks so fun. I think it's probably just going to be one of those games that is such a joy to pick up and play, just because it feels so good and it's so vibrant and fun. And that's the sense I get from it. And knowing this stuff makes me even more excited too, because it's nice to know that you're playing something that like the people making it had fun making it.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference. I hate playing something and then I find out later on like, oh, well, the developers were like in crunch and were, sleeping under their desks and they were miserable. Because I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
I hope this game ends up being awesome, because I think this would be a great example in like workflow and how we can like let workers be passionate. Be passionate and strip away like as much of the business aspect as possible, and you get something like really fresh, really creative, and really successful. I hope that's what this ends up being, because
for sure
we need more of this. We need more of this, and we need more. Dude, I am praying on Call of Duty 3 flopping, or Modern Warfare 3 flopping. We need that to flop.
I keep forgetting about that.
We need that a patch.
It should have been a lot of patches.
Straight up. But this looks awesome. I'm very excited for this. October 20th. It's so funny too. That is the day Spider-Man 2 comes out, and that's just how Nintendo doesn't give a flying
They're
F.
like, it's Mario, you sons of bitches.
It's a Mario, and it's a console exclusive that will sell no matter what. Like,
oh yeah,
they're so confident they don't care.
They probably feel too with these later Switch games so much more confident in starting to experiment again a bit, just because of like how big the user base is now. They sold so many Switches that they know like it doesn't have to be the safest bet. Like, let's try something new, because like there's 100 million of these damn things out there.
It really makes me wonder if the Switch 2 is going to be a full drop of the Switch 1 or not, because
Yeah.
Or if it'll just be like a hardware upgrade, because
I really wonder.
It doesn't really seem like it needs to be anything more than an optional hardware upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, just something that can then pump up the resolution, help with like the frame rate a bit, because like that's the big question. I would be really upset if it didn't have, backwards compatibility and it didn't feel like an evolution of this, and they kind of did something like totally different again, because I think they should ride the Switch out for another like 10 years at this point. It's just such a great all-in-one package in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love playing it handheld. I play it docked all the time too. Like I'm kind of 50-50, honestly. And I love that about it.
I for the first 5 years that I had the Switch, for 4 years, I basically only played it docked, like exclusively. And now, like Tears of the Kingdom, I played a solid amount handheld. Sea of Stars, I've been playing a lot of handheld, and Pikmin 4, I played entirely handheld. That's the first game since like the Game Boy I've played entirely handheld was Pikmin 4. A lot of it has to do with one of our future sponsors, the Satisfied Group. This thing is amazing. It really
having a good grip
incredible.
for it makes a big difference. I use one too, handheld, not a Satisfy one, but just some thing I got off of Amazon years ago. But it's great. I can't play it handheld without it.
It's awesome, dude. Yeah, it's fantastic. It really helps a lot. But yeah, so I'm stoked for this game. I think it'll be great. I think it's hilarious. They don't care about the October 20th date. And it's incredible. I did not realize that it just had no deadline, that they just let their devs make it and take their time, and it looks gorgeous.
I think that comes through.
Yeah, I think it comes through, and we'll both be playing it on our OLED, so you better put your order in.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I got to get one. All right. I can't be seen without one.
All right, let's switch heavy gears here.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon is From Software's biggest Steam launch that isn't Elden Ring. This is a crazy story. This is really nuts. That a game called Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon has had such a wild amount of success and popularity. I mean, I think it really speaks to how good and how well received Elden Ring has been, or was.
Absolutely.
And obviously they built their base with the Dark Souls games, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Sekiro, Bloodborne, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are all amazing games. But something about Elden Ring really put them in a new stratosphere. It threw them over the moon.
Yeah, it's crazy to me to see something that, if we're being honest, mech games have always been a niche, I think. Mech things in general, like they're really cool. Lots of people love them, but like, it's never had that kind of huge mainstream appeal. So for something like this, where it's like a crunchy mech game within an existing franchise, like you said, has 6 in the name, like that's a big leap to jump into something like that, to be doing so well and to be reviewing really well too from people who don't even play that sort of thing. Like it speaks to the, brand recognition, which is always huge, like knowing a developer that you like, but also just them building goodwill with people for so long. It's really a perfect storm for them, I think, of they couldn't put just anything out. I think if the game was bad, like that word would have spread, but it's the combination of it and also being apparently really great.
It's really fun. So far, I've really enjoyed it, and I did not think I wasn't honestly going to get it on launch, and just like it was on the podcast. I like bought it last second on the podcast.
Yeah, I convinced you to get the PS5
and then I was going to play it on stream,
version.
and I found out that it was actually only PC. Only PC actually had the like earlier release time.
Oh, bummer.
So I didn't even get to stream it that day. I had to wait till the next week to stream it.
Oops.
Or the next stream. But Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon represents something special for fans From Software. This is an article from VG247. It says, anyone even passing interest in the rise of popularity of the Japanese developer Elden Ring is one of the biggest launches in 2022, so it stands to reason that anything the studio releases after is of a much larger audience potential. No one expects Armored Core 6 to do Elden Ring numbers, of course, but it's already beating every other game FromSoft released before Elden Ring. At least as far as Steam is concerned, the mech shooter, which launched yesterday, has been gradually climbing through Steam's list of most played games. At the time of writing this, the game has peaked at 150,959 concurrent players on Steam, according to SteamDB. That's up from a peak of just above 127,000 shortly after launch. All of this is enough to land Armored Core 6 at number 7 on Steam's most played games list. That's pretty
impressive.
wild.
Yeah,
That's insane.
I mean,
That's to me says
just this genre, man. Like a mech game doing that
alone,
well.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
A mech game doing that well. I think it speaks a lot to how good Armored Core is. I mean, not Armored Core. Elden Ring was. It really boosts them. It really sent them over the moon.
Yeah.
And it also, I think, says even more about how good Baldur's Gate is. Because the fact that Baldur's Gate hit what, like almost like 900K.
Yeah.
And that's like a CRPG.
Yeah, that's crunchy RPG stuff.
That's crazy. That really puts into perspective how unexpectedly successful Baldur's was.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool to see just different genres do really well, just things that might not appeal in a mainstream way to so many people be doing big numbers. I think it's awesome. It's awesome for the industry. It's great for the developers. It's great for the players, because so many people, most people who really like mech games, like I don't know when the last kind of like big, AAA mech game release was that people could get into. So if you're into it, it's like, hell yeah, man, this is like Christmas and New Year's rolled into one, and your birthday too.
Yeah, it actually says down here, it's really wild. It says, how does it compare to FromSoft's past titles? It beats all of them. Before Elden Ring, FromSoft's biggest Steam concurrent player count was achieved by Dark Souls 3, which peaked at 129,975 players. What was that, about the same?
Yeah, that's actually crazy that it beat Dark Souls 3 at the time. That's nuts.
It's insane. Oh, so the Armored Core peaked at 150, slightly over 150. That's kind of insane.
Wow.
And then the only other FromSoft developed game to break the 100,000 mark was Sekiro with 125,000. That's crazy, man. That's nuts. Again, a game with 6 in the title. Just like totally
that alone is
a mech game with 6 in the title, just skyrocketing up to here. Wow, Elden Ring hit 953,000.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like I loved Elden Ring. It's just so wild to me that's what broke through. Made it that mainstream.
There was something about it. I felt like the masses were ready for the masochism.
I think a lot of people had played Breath of the Wild and really enjoyed that kind of open-ended freedom. Yeah, I think the pandemic obviously helped a lot. People were all looking to things to talk about, things to play. And
then the foundation of how media started being shared via like TikTok and stuff. Yeah. Over the pandemic.
Lots of
combined with the insane clips that we were getting out of Elden Ring, I think really was just throwing coals over the fire. Like we were just everyone was like, what is this? What is this game? What is this? Like they wanted in on it. They wanted to try it out.
Yeah. I think it's also the most, in my opinion, the most accessible From Software game by far. It's still hard, nothing about Elden Ring is easy, but it was the first game that they've made in that style where like, if you try to do something and it's not working, you can go somewhere else and do something else. There were so many ways to build power and to build your character up and to explore. I don't know the percentage of like people who actually finished the game. I'd be curious to see, because I'm sure a lot of people wound up just probably exploring and having fun and all that kind of thing. And then, because they had the freedom to do that instead of with a lot of the Souls games, where they're more linear. Eventually you get to a point where it's like, there's a boss you can't beat.
Right.
A lot of people will just stop playing, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect storm for them, and seeing it pay off for them in future IP stuff, I think is really cool, because I love their kind of philosophy on game development.
Yeah. Even though I think Margaret is like maybe their hardest skill check boss, just because of like how early you can stumble upon him, like how early most people stumble upon him. Yeah. And I get that's like meant to like shy people away from progressing and like going back and gearing up a little. But I think for the average person, he's probably the hardest skill check boss. Even when you're geared up for him, he's a pain in the ass. He's not easy.
Yeah. I remember I can't remember if it was my first playthrough or this second playthrough I had. Both times I wound up 100%ing it because I liked it so much. But one of them, I think might have been my second time, I was like, I wound up just doing so much stuff again before even going back to fight him. I think I was like level 50 or something like that. And I was like, all right, come here.
Yeah.
Come here, man.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Just three shot him.
Pretty much, yeah. I was doing sorcery
he goes,
too. So
he goes to swing his stick at you, and you're just like, you just grab it.
Yeah, I'm
take
like,
it
I know
him.
you're gonna delay that attack, dude.
Dude, his delays are such a pain in the ass. His delays, and he would always, you would like, he had like this one combo set of moves where you would perfectly dodge like his big swing, but then he would always swing it back almost instantaneously, which like it was like impossible to dodge. It was so frustrating, dude.
He's a real nasty guy.
He
really is.
He's a real nasty person, folks. He's a real nasty guy.
Market. I can't do that impression. I'm terrible at it.
He's a horrible skill check boss, folks. You don't want to fight him. You don't want to see him. Okay, but yeah, that is wild. I'm very happy that FromSoft is like kind of becoming this like household name with the likes of every big developer, Capcom, Ubisoft, like FromSoft, dude. They made it. I can't give me a Assassin's Creed from FromSoft. Let's go.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Can't wait for FromSoft MTX. Let's go. Please.
When's Assassin's Creed
Mirage?
Mirage.
I don't even
When's
know.
that coming out?
Some point in the next month or two.
Yeah.
I can't even keep track anymore. It's insane.
I'm curious about that one. I'd like to play it.
Yeah.
If it delivers on what they're promising, it might be
Sounds great. I can't wait. Okay, jetting back to Nintendo though. The Nintendo Switch has surpassed the Wii's lifetime sales in the US. Pretty nuts.
This is very nuts. The Wii was such a lightning strike for them of popularity. It's pretty nuts, especially after the GameCube, which sold like dog shit, which is unfortunate because I love that console and had so many great games.
The GameCube sold like shit?
Yeah, I think it might be I think it's their worst selling console actually of all time.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. Nobody knows that because everybody who had one loved it.
Wait, that's like
the
GameCube was like their best console.
Lifetime Nintendo console sales. Let's go to Google, confirm, fact check. There we go. Extends the lead over its predecessors. Yeah, the GameCube sold 21 million, almost 22 million, compared to the Wii, which sold 101 million.
Oh my god.
N64, and part of that is just the industry getting bigger, but the N64 sold more than the GameCube. It sold 33 million just about. Super Nintendo 49 million, the NES, the original one, 62 million. So on the poor Wii U, the Wii U with only 13.5 million.
Wow, that's really
Rest
bad.
Rest in peace, buddy. We loved you.
That's abysmal.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff way back in the day of gamers just being crazy about everything. That were like, oh, Nintendo's gonna shut down, dude. They can't recover from the GameCube. It was such a loss,
dude. Here's the thing. I thoroughly believe that GameCube not only was Nintendo's best console, I think it was so important for making a statement on innovating and being creative in video games and trying new things that boomed throughout Nintendo, but like other devs too. Like, we had the weirdest shit ever during the GameCube. Like, up until that point, Metroid had only been a 2D side to side. They said, why don't we just make a first-person shooter?
And have it be one of the best games of all time.
Let's have Star Fox, this like third-person Galaga game. Let's have him do like a Zelda game.
Give him a staff and fight dinosaurs.
Yeah, let's make him go do like an Ocarina of Time. And hey guys, you want to buy some bongos and play like a Donkey Kong bongo game? Like
Luigi's fighting ghosts with a vacuum cleaner.
It was
insane.
Yeah, give Luigi a vacuum and like, he's got a rich uncle or something, and now he can have a mansion and suck up ghosts. Like all this stuff is so iconic. Pikmin.
Of course, yeah. They were so unhinged at the time. It was really amazing.
When you look at Pikmin, I'm even looking at this little thumbnail of these Pikmin.
Yeah,
what the fuck is this
idea? Yeah, it's
what is this, dude?
I think it was Miyamoto just like really going to town. Like they were like, all right, he was like, I don't think anyone asked him. I think he just said, I'm gonna make this game because I think he was like really into gardening or something at the time. And it's
nuts. It's
plant-based
insane.
RTS with like it's insane. Yeah, so many great franchises came out of it.
So many great franchises, or reinventing the wheel on the ones. Even Super Mario Sunshine. which I actually found out. I guess a lot of people don't like Super Mario Sunshine.
It's kind of divisive, yeah.
I think it's another great example of like taking an established thing and just like the closest thing I can think of to Mario Sunshine now is Mario Wonder, Super Mario Wonder. Like,
sure,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's bright, it's colorful, it's got a spin on the formula. There's a unique mechanic.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
It was like Mario Odyssey kind of ahead of its time, because I think that kind of the big stages that you could approach in like different ways. Mario 64 kind of did that too, but with Sunshine you literally had like you had like a whole town to explore and all that kind of thing, and like approaching it in different ways, all that kind of thing.
We got a couple live comments here. So
hey.
John Woo says GameCube did not do well from everything I've heard, but it was a tight console. It was a great console. It was. I think it was.
It might be
Nintendo's.
My favorite.
Yeah, I think it's Nintendo's most important generation. If I had to pick one. Modern Impact said Sonic Adventures Battle 2 was so good. Too.
Oh, dude,
was that on GameCube?
It was, yeah. I think it was a Dreamcast game originally, and then the deluxe complete edition was GameCube.
My next door neighbors had a Dreamcast, which is the only way I played it. But I played all of Sonic Adventure 2 next door because they babysat me, so I would play it like every day after school at their house.
Yeah,
and I beat it. It was great. I also watched most of Dragon Ball Z there. All of my Super Sonic, Super Saiyan experiences at the next door neighbor's house.
What a great combo. Wow. Formative place.
And then we have Coconut Nerd saying, the hate the Wii U got was crazy. I loved my Wii U. Well, here's the thing about the Wii U.
I love the Wii U.
The Wii U got shot in the back of the head and put into a ditch and a grave so that the Switch could fly.
Yeah, that's a painful analogy, but it's pretty true. Yeah, they just took so many missteps with it, but obviously what they learned about
it's
hardware.
The Switch beta. It's a Switch beta. It was a cool idea, and I think like we have the Switch because Nintendo tried something wild, and it fell on its face. But
I agree. I mean, I think they always do really well when they're down, because the GameCube having for them was a financial failure. Or I don't even know if it was a failure, but not nearly as big as they needed it to be. And then they went back to the drawing board and did the Wii, which was crazy and so out of left field, which wound up being massive, over 100 million consoles sold. Yeah. And then after that, they were like, we're on top of the world, man. And then they made the Wii U, which was just such a wacky idea. And then that flopped. And then we got the Switch, which has now surpassed the Wii, which is pretty insane, actually, that it's finally hit that point.
Yeah, no, it is. So we can finally actually look at this article. Nintendo Switch has just achieved another sales milestone, although worldwide hardware says the hybrid system surpassed Wii sales some time ago. There's been an update in the U.S. According to new data from Circana, U.S. lifetime sales of Switch hardware have finally overtaken the Wii after 6 years in the market. The hybrid system achieved this feat in July 2023. No exact sales data was provided, but IGN notes that 49 million were sold in the Americas, so that's great. I'm happy for the Switch, and we were saying I'm having like a late in Switch life renaissance revival with the system. Tears of the Kingdom was awesome. Pikmin 4 was awesome. Sea of Stars I'm playing on there now. We have Mario Wonder coming, Super Mario RPG. So it's this kind of like late boom of awesome games that I guess they were just like, whatever, we'll just hold them out for the very end.
Yeah, it's great to see because they've had a habit in the past of like not there's like always a swan song game, but then they like the consoles just kind of like flatline before a new one comes out. Then with this, it's like we were like, oh man, is there going to be anything else on the Switch this year? And then they had that one Nintendo Direct where they announced like 13 games, including like Mario Wonder and other things, and we were like, oh, okay, it's still going.
Yeah.
So, it's cool to see. I mean, it just makes me even more curious because, like, I understand from a business sense, you've got this many, hardware units out in the wild. How do you handle a new one? Like, do you do the backwards compatibility thing? Do you do an evolution of it? That there's the crossover, the cross-gen. Right. Do you just, say, well, those exist. We can keep selling games in the eShop, but here's something totally new. I wonder how they're going to handle it.
I do really hope that the Switch 2 is more of a Switch Pro. And I think last episode we were or 2 episodes ago we were talking about like how we don't really want more cross generation, but I think with Nintendo it's a little bit different because their games are like less graphically intensive, or like if the Switch wants to run a game at 720/30 that a Switch 2 game can run at 1080/60, then sure, whatever. Like that's I don't think we're gonna have to worry about Baldur's Gate not having co-op local split screen on the Switch version or whatever,
Yeah.
So we'll see what it is. I'm excited, but hopefully it's a worthwhile upgrade because I think the hardware is starting to. No, I think it's past starting. I think it's very far behind.
Yeah, it's definitely showing its age for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over to this one over here. Red Dead Redemption series writer leaves Rockstar after 16 years. This is an article from Video Games Chronicle. Michael Unsworth also worked on Max Payne 3, LA Noire, and GTA. And if we go down here in this article a little bit, his credentials are actually like kind of nuts, and it reveals some information about how many people wrote certain games, and so he had a big impact. So I'll read a little bit more of this. The former writing director, Michael Unsworth, had worked virtually on all of Rockstar's major releases over the last 16 years. Notably, he's one of only 3 writers credited on both Red Dead Redemption's games, both of the Red Dead Redemption games. Their stories alongside Rockstar co-founder Dan Houser. Is he still there? Did he leave too?
I think he's still there. That's a good
question.
Still
there? Okay. Because I feel like the tops of Rockstar keep like leaving.
Yeah.
Unsworth is also credited for dialogue writing in Grand Theft Auto 5, 4, Max Payne 3, LA Noire, Midnight Club Los Angeles, and more. Rockstar Games, which is now in its 24th year of operation, has seen several high-profile departures in its recent years. In 2020, veteran Grand Theft Auto writer and producer Laszlo Jones left the company. Jones had worked on the series for nearly 20 years, best known for producing the dialogue for the series' characters and satirical radio stations, as well as appearing as the host of GTA 5's Chattersphere and Fame or Shame. So yeah, this is a big deal. I think this is a bigger deal than it seems up front. His credits here of not only being one of 3 writers for both Red Dead games, but working on Grand Theft Auto 5, 4, Max Payne 3, and LA Noire. That's like
that's
that
big.
is just a Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer.
Seriously, I really wonder about this. Like, it's very rare for anyone to stay around in a company in the games industry in general. So it's normal to have turnover for veterans sometimes, but like, I wonder. It's like sometimes, a writer will leave when like they've just this could mean like, oh, he finished working on like GTA 6. And maybe he's gonna retire, or maybe he'll go start a studio on his own or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, it could mean that things are not great there and he's like fed up after all this time and, is just going to take his business elsewhere. It's always interesting with writers because like when a writer, same thing you see with screenwriters and stuff too, like once they've done their work, oftentimes they're kind of like, okay, I'm done with the project now. And, if they don't have something else lined up there, they might go work on something else. But he's been there for so long and worked on so many things.
And when you look at I think it said 16 years, and it's 24 years, so after their first 8. So he's really been there for like what we all think of as like Rockstar's like golden age.
Rockstar.
Like he has been there for the prime amount of time. And actually the other lead, Dan Houser's Rockstar creative lead of more than 20 years, left the studio in the same year, which is 2020. They're referring to 2020. In 2016, influential Rockstar North president Leslie Benzies also departed.
Yeah.
Rockstar Games' parent company Take-Two played down the impact of Houser's departure in February 2020, insisting that things couldn't be better at the Grand Theft Auto studio. Rockstar's owner has recently forecast a sharp jump in sales during its fiscal year in the beginning of April 2024, driven by the release of several groundbreaking titles, which leading to speculation that GTA 6 could be released during this period. One of the game's industry's most high-profile data leaks, more than an hour of GTA 6 development footage was published online. Looked pretty good.
That was such a crazy time.
It was. That was nuts. Last September, giving players their first look at the sequel to one of the best-selling games ever. It looked great. I am very, very nervous about GTA 6 and just about Rockstar because I mean, all good things must come to pass, right? And
yeah,
they've lost some heavy hitters who's, given I wasn't super familiar with the names, that's really a me thing. But like when you read about their credentials, how much weight they carried through these projects and through these years of Rockstar,
yeah.
this is a big deal.
I mean, it's just they've become just so gigantic. It really is crazy. Like, I mean, the budget for GTA 6 is probably going to wind up being, when all is said and done, with, development, advertising, all of that, like maybe billions of dollars. Like, it's actually insane how much money is involved, how many people are involved. I'd be shocked if there weren't like 1,000 people working on this game. And I can understand if you're someone, especially you're someone who's been there for that long, to see it grow into this very big, very corporate thing, like the headliner of Take-Two, which is, a giant corporation as well. Like, I can understand frustration of being like, we saw the same thing happen with Blizzard. I mean, they have other issues, but like a lot of the veterans who started off there, who were just a bunch of nerds making games with like a small team, right, having it turn into this giant, $100 million company. A lot of the time it's just like, whatever, man, I'm not having fun anymore. I don't really enjoy it here. And they bounce out. But it's just seeing Rockstar go from like, the company making the weird violent games that Joe Lieberman was trying to ban in like 2004 to literally the most, like profitable media product of all time is really insane.
And I'm worried that they're writing the back of that, right? As so like how much of a service or how much of a platform is GTA 6 going to be? Which like pretty safe bet that it's going to be a massive platform, a massive service.
Oh yeah.
But the real question is like how much creativity is going to suffer because now Rockstar's eyes they got the green bills in their eyes,
cartoon
like
dollar signs,
the cartoon dollars, like they couldn't be more primed to try to make as much profit as possible. There's rumors that the game's going to cost $2 billion to develop.
Yeah,
it's scary. It's scary to think that we might lose another one to the almighty dollar.
Yeah,
but like it's hard to go against them at the same time because of their track record. But what worries me about that is these people are they're leaving. These people are leaving.
I'm going to go ahead on a personal level, and until I hear otherwise, assume that this is not a super negative thing, and just be like, oh, he finished writing the game. It's in that stage of production.
Yeah.
Because like as far as I know, we haven't heard like super negative buzz coming from inside the company. I could be totally wrong, but I also I want the game to be good. But I'm really curious. I'm really curious to see like if it's got to be
late. It's got to be late stage at this point. Like it's got to be very late stage. This if they are planning to release next year, everything that's happening right now is what the people would like to say is quote unquote polish, QA testing. Like they're optimizing performance. We're not writing story and cutting around like that's and if that is happening, that's scary.
I do wonder though, like we're seeing a lot of companies do, like restructuring or scaling back, that kind of thing. And a lot of the time, what we just saw with BioWare, the veterans, the veteran creative people who've been there for the longest time are often the people who get let go because, that's where they can save the most money, which is stupid. But that could be the case here too. Like he's been there for so long. He's got this huge resume. Like he could have been demanding probably more money than a lot of other people there. And Take-Two higher ups might have been
this guy's expensive.
Yeah, like he finished writing there on 6 already. Like, what's he working on right now? Like, he's really expensive. So they might have like basically all but told him to find something else. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, they made like probably a couple million less on GTA 5 this year. The CEO of Take-Two probably couldn't get his fifth yacht.
Yep.
So it's these decisions are really hard.
Yeah.
These decisions when laying off veterans at BioWare, it's really hard. You don't want to have a quarter where your shareholders see any loss on their dividends, and it's this. You got to go. Sorry, you got to go.
Yeah, that's literally how they think
go,
about it.
folks.
Like
you gotta go.
Any slightly lower number than is expected or whatever, it's just like, oh, light the warning signs and start cutting people. It's pretty crazy.
It is nuts. It's very, very nutty. But speaking of restructuring, there was another huge restructuring this week that we just caught earlier. So Embracer, who is the massive holding company, why do I feel like they're super associated with Amazon? I think it's because of the Lord of the Rings. Like Embracer, pretty sure Embracer owns all the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah, they wound up getting a lot of stuff in the last couple of years.
They're just buying up IP and media like crazy. But Embracer shuts down Saints Row studio Volition after 30 years. The restructuring comes after, there it is, the key word, restructuring comes after the Swedish media company reportedly lost out on $2 billion from the Saudi government. Oh, man, not $2 billion.
Oh, darn.
Not from the Saudi government. Oh man. Volition, the studio behind Red Faction, Saints Row, and countless other games, is closing its doors after 30 years. The decision was made by parent company Embracer after the sprawling conglomerate announced cuts earlier this year following the loss of $2 billion in funding that was reportedly supposed to come from the controversial Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. This past June, Embracer Group announced a restructuring program to strengthen Embracer and maintain its position as a leader in the video game industry. You know what needs a restructuring? That sentence.
This article.
Volition announced on August 31st in a statement on LinkedIn, as part of the program, they evaluated strategic and operational goals and made the difficult decision to close Volition effective immediately.
So sad, man. Like this happened. This happens so much with these big companies that acquire studios. Like famously, EA is the one that has like there's like graphs that people have made of like graveyards of all the studios that they acquired and then shut down. It's really sad. Like Saints Row, I've never played them, but I know that it has a very big fan base. I know that the recent reboot that they did was not well received. That might have been a misfire, but like Red Faction is an old franchise that is important to the gaming industry and that people really loved. It would have been cool to see a fresh one of that. So many other things. It's just like, it's just wild to see companies just acquire a studio and then treat them like, it's an asset. You're basically saying like, well, we've purchased this, we have the rights over it. It's not making enough money, so it's got to go, or, and then they just hold on to the IPs or it's crazy. It's something that we see a lot in the gaming industry, and it's always a shame. Like there's so many studios that, had great IPs that made really great things that get acquired and then just get put in the dirt.
Yeah, and I want to give everybody who's listening right now a little rundown on everything Embracer owns.
Oh boy.
and you can they probably didn't have to shut down Volition. And hopefully they are working with, it says in the statement from Volition that they're working to, help these employees find new jobs. Maybe they're Embracer is such a massive conglomerate that maybe they are finding them positions in different subsidiaries. But I think it is very scary and a little dangerous when we have so much media wrapped up under one company. And Embracer owns, okay, here's some of its subdivisions. A couple of subdivisions that I don't know off the top of my head, but the ones I do know off the top of my head are Dark Horse Media, Middle-earth Enterprises, Gearbox Entertainment, Saber Interactive, and THQ Nordic. There's like seven more listed.
There's all of those alone have like maybe about 500 IPs.
Dude, just Dark Horse alone, for people who aren't aware what Dark Horse has, some of their bigger known titles are, they're a comics company, but some of their bigger known titles are Ninja Gaiden, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Aliens, Predator, Terminator, Hellboy, Umbrella Academy, Sin City 300, and like probably multiple dozens more than that on top of that. They're massive group. On top of that, they have Middle-earth Enterprises. This is going back to Embracer, which is all of Lord of the Rings, all of J.R.R. Tolkien stuff, including The Hobbit, and
That's
every Lord of the
wild.
Rings work. Gearbox obviously is Borderlands. That's a big one there, and then THQ Nordic. Like that's just, I can't even begin
Yeah.
to list games there. That is so many games and developers under
It's
THQ
just,
Nordic alone. THQ Nordic could be considered a holding company with how many subsidiaries they have.
it's so weird, man. It's just so weird that like these big, funded companies can just come in and like collect studios and intellectual properties like Pokemon cards. It's so nuts to me. As someone who has no interest in business and entrepreneurship as a whole, it's a very alien concept to me. I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, who's running this? Like, is there
Who's
some
running the show?
yeah, who's
Like,
running
actually,
this show? Like, it's like the more stuff you have, the less attention you can give to each one, and it's just like, in what universe does it make sense for like one giant company to have so many things? Like, I feel like you just can't properly manage it. You're always going to run into situations like this.
When you are this high level, when you're this high level where you have this many properties, your
Yeah.
only job is to ensure and secure profit for the people who are invested in those subsidiaries or the holding company as a whole.
Yeah.
So they do not care about the creativity. That is not their job to care about the creativity or the quality of the product. Their job is to ensure a positive flow of dollars coming into the holding group.
Yeah.
So when they see $2 billion lost from a Saudi investment fund, and then they see what is it? Saints Row. The Saints Row reboot was like horrendous, right? Didn't that do
Yeah.
very bad?
Not well received.
Yeah, I didn't. I've never played Saints Row. I've never been a Saints Row guy. But those two things combined, they're obviously going to shut down their most recent failure, or the thing that they believe in least.
Yeah.
And in this case, a 30-year-old developer, as a company,
Yeah.
took the bullet.
That's a big chunk of the games industry as a whole existing for. That's wild. I saw some stats where, like, I'm pretty sure Embracer is like a profitable holding company. I think they have a pretty good profit right now, which is like just so nuts to basically look at the numbers and be like, we could make more, and it just like axe an entire company. And like
a company that has a very good track record too. It's not like this company has made horrible game after horrible game. They had one game that did really badly.
Yeah.
And it was just recent. But
they always say, sorry, I'm just looking at the thing where it's like, oh, we'll provide job assistance. We'll shift people around. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if they just have a legal obligation to say that, but the BioWare said the same thing. And I saw multiple people who were let go in those big things on Twitter looking for,
like, I have nothing.
leads. Yeah. It's like, I don't trust for a second that they're actually going to do a whole heck of a lot. Sorry, I cut you off there.
Volition. No, you're fine. I think the same thing. Volition began its journey in 1993 as Parallax Software with the sci-fi first-person shooter Descent. The company was renamed after a split in 1996 and went on to survive the collapse of publisher THQ, which was revived as THQ Nordic, which I actually learned on this podcast. It's very educational.
There you go.
Before eventually becoming part of Koch Media. Now, oh my God, they have Koch Media. I didn't recognize PlayOn. Whatever PlayOn.
Those bastards.
That's insane.
Oh my God,
that
they're
is
everywhere.
Nuts, dude. What is happening?
What do the Koch brothers know about video games? Are they even alive? I think one of them is. I don't know. Insane.
That is. Oh my God. Actually, wow. That's insane. Anyway, itself later purchased by Nordic Games, now Embracer. Over 3 decades, it created the space combat sim Free Space, Red Faction, and the hit open world parody of Grand Theft Auto Saints Row. So yeah, that's a shame. It stinks. Hats off to Volition for 30 years of creating media that people adored.
Yeah.
And we're sorry that the Saudis backed out.
They're making a big push. I saw like some ad on Twitch the other day when I booted something up. I got some pre-roll that was like a Saudi event. It's like an esports thing or something. And I was like, this is crazy, man. They're really pumping a lot of money into it, and they see the dollar signs.
From Dank Soul in the chat. What's up, Dank? He said that's hilarious after the recent reboot of the awful Saints Row, or the recent revamp of the awful Saints Row reboot. Saints Row 4 was the last time I had fun with any of their games, and that game was an absolute fever dream of a trip. Yeah, and I think, when you, like we're saying, when you operate for 30 years, you're not going to have hit after hit. But it's a shame that it comes down to, hey, are the Saudis going to give us money?
Yeah. It's like the difference between like an independent studio struggling with a couple of stinkers and then, deciding to close the door versus like some giant holding company being like, because they have the money, it's like they could keep all these things open in perpetuity. It comes down to just the numbers. It's not really about the people there. It's just about the numbers and like, well, this one's more profitable. This one missed out on money. We don't have as much money as we'd like. So it just feels so much less personal, when it's just like, we're just shutting it down. Because the people making
effective
that decision
immediately.
don't really care. Yeah.
Effective immediately.
These people did something.
Nobody
gets
a company watch.
Yeah. Nobody gets an Embracer t-shirt on the way out the door. Yikes.
Koch brothers t-shirt.
Play on media.
Okay, but we got a couple more things here. Maybe we'll go over this one quickly. I'm not going to have a ton to say, but you might have more to say about this one. So the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection is packed with bonuses, but the bare bones ports offer little that PC emulators don't already do better. Whether you're like a Metal Gear person or not, I think the real story about this is we've been talking a lot, and I think a lot of people have noticed the increase in the uptick in lazy remasters, lazy portovers, and I think this is following the tradition. Before this one, we had the Rockstar Presents Red Dead Redemption, which is probably considered another like lazy-ish product. Honestly, the product, okay, maybe it was a little bit lazy, but the price of that product is insane. And if you're gonna charge $50 for like a 15-year-old game, revamp the game, make it more, clean it up, polish it, upscale it, do whatever, do something, please, for the love of God. But specific to the Metal Gear Master Collection, the news that the upcoming Metal Gear Master Collection wouldn't support, and this is an article from PC Gamer, wouldn't support mouse and keyboard on PC was a clue and a warning that Konami was not aiming for a top-to-bottom remaster of its most beloved series. After playing not quite final version of this upcoming re-release at Konami's Los Angeles offices last week, I'd say quote-unquote collection really is the operative word here. This is the equivalent of a vinyl album box set packed with new liner notes, little heard demo tracks, and many other extras, but without a recording engineer giving the original analog recordings a new mix. Konami remastered these games a decade ago and has apparently decided that treatment was good enough. That's insane. For PC gamers, my excitement is in having Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 easily playable is tempered by how much modern CPU's GPU power Konami has left untapped to enhance these games. My favorite of the bunch, Metal Gear Solid 3, was never released on PC, so it'll be great having it on Steam. But if you're hoping for a definitive version of these games, you may be better off turning to emulation in this collection, which is stuck in re-rendering games at the same 720p they ran at on the PS3/360 HD collection 12 years ago. That's insane, dude.
I think there's been a correction since then. I think they have it at the start that like some of them will run at 1080p, but
after this preview was published, Konami stated that the PC and console versions of the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection will in fact run at 1080p 60 and not 720p as stated in the interview below. They did not specify which games, but presumably this applies to only Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, as the original Metal Gear Solid was clearly rendering at a much lower resolution, like its native 240p.
Woo! The good old days.
Representative did not answer my more specific questions regarding rendering and output resolutions across the various games' original story below. I still don't think they're going to be like doing a massive amount of reworking, justifying calling it like a remaster collection.
Yeah, this is classic Konami in a lot of ways of just like doing the bare minimum with their IPs, but I have such mixed feelings because, as I've said before, like having something available, just available to purchase and play on modern systems is a good thing. It's a positive thing. And I'm glad that these games will be available in a complete way. But
Yeah.
it's just like, man, like how the core thing that the author's getting at here is like, for something like this, where you're like, you know, bringing something back, like there's so much more you can do with it. And they say,
Right.
later down in here, like one of the representatives from Konami, when they asked about like the resolution stuff, they were like, oh, well, you know, we if you put the resolution too high, it'll like, you know, change it too much from its original version. That's not how the game is meant to be seen or something. And it's like, that's so silly to me, because like, of course it's an old game. And if you're like not going to change the textures or like effects or do anything to do it, you are essentially trying to just, they're basically saying like, okay, we're putting something out that we think is going to be as close to like the original versions as possible, which is also not true, because now they're running it like 1080p. And if you're going to go that route where you're saying like, oh, this is like for preservation's sake, an emulated version of the game you can run at the original resolution. You can run it with CRT filters. You can do all sorts of things to actually keep that original presentation. Whereas for something like this, you should then, with an emulator, you can also run it at 4K.
But dude, they would have to like do work though. They would have to like have developers like put time into it, and that will cost them more money.
Yeah. Whereas with this, it's like they can just take a PS3 game and run it through press the port button.
And then like they not only would they have to put the effect in the game, but they'd have to put like options in the menu that didn't exist prior to like turn it off and on. Like you're really asking like a lot.
I should be more understanding of how difficult.
And you should be grateful, because some Italian guy in chat actually asked, how much is the Metal Gear port collection? Really good news, actually. It's only $59.99. So it's only $60 when most games today are $70. So
they're
we should
honestly,
you can't not buy it. You're getting 3 20-year-old plus games that are barely remastered, but you get 3. You get 3. Think about that. Red Dead is one game. Red Dead L is one game for $50. For $9 more, you get 3 games. That's crazy.
It's insane. Like one of them's a PlayStation 1 game. Like that should have so many options. Like the fact that the PC version, they might as well not even make it. It's so silly that it's like that is like the most open platform of all time. I wouldn't use a mouse and keyboard to play a game like this, but if you're making a PC version, you're selling it, put in mouse and keyboard controls. Come on. Like it's ridiculous to not even do that. And also not having video settings, like raise the resolution. Like it just makes it seem like they literally did the bare minimum to port it, when it's like, again, you will get, it's similar to issues of like piracy and DRM. If you are getting a better version of a artistic piece of software by emulating it, where you have full control over those things, then like, what are you doing? You have to provide a better service, and they're not providing a better service here by re-releasing these in this format. Like it's playable, like it'll be fine, like it'll be a good solid way to play them, but it's like it could go so much further for the price that you're charging. It's just it's such a weird middle ground in preservation, where it's like it's a good thing, but like I don't know, like either go all the way or like it just feels like you're pretending. We'll
just keep emulating. And you see this problem with Nintendo too, where they ask for, what is it, like $25 extra a year? So what is that, up to like $50 almost a year for having 47-letter friend codes to add your friends, but you get access to Nintendo 64 games that run worse than some of the worst emulated versions that you can download on your PC.
Yeah, they have less, controller customization, less video customization. Like there's always something to be said for the mainstream version, for someone who just wants to buy a game and play it immediately on their console, and that's great. But like, I don't know, man, this could go so much further. Like if I were to play these games on, an emulator, like I would probably even want to go in the opposite direction, where like I'm someone who likes to try and play things similar to the hardware they came out on. So if I were to emulate Metal Gear Solid 3, I would probably try to run it at like the native PlayStation resolution, put like a CRT filter on it or something, because that's how I remember it. But then in this, it's like, it's not even like, oh, well, at least this version, that's cool. I'll get it at like 4K with like sharper, better textures or something. It's just like literally the same as the PS3, but just with a slightly higher resolution. It's silly.
It stinks. It's like, it's lazy.
Yeah, it's not even like something to be like raging mad about. It's just disappointment. You know, like this is such a great franchise that
people want
really
it. I've never played any of these games.
Yeah, and it doesn't give me a lot of confidence in just the stability.
Does Snake Eater come out this year?
Oh, the remake? Probably not. I don't think so.
Not this year. But they're gearing up. They're getting people ready for Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. I'm also nervous for it, mostly because of like Kojima's not involved. I'm sure they won't be radically changing the story or anything, but I don't know. It's Kojima's not involved, man. Imagine. Think about how insane a Kojima remake would be, because it would not be the same game at all. It would be like a whole different thing. It'd be like, surprise, it's a sequel. They would do like the Final Fantasy VII remake or whatever, right? Where it's like not really, it's like a sequel, but it's a remake, but it's a sequel. But like at the same time, like Kojima would like show you playing the game, like you like a behind the view camera of you would be in the game of you playing. Well,
somehow he gets a camera behind you.
Yeah, you'd be like, wait, is that me?
I am naked Snake.
Turn back. Yeah. Like it'd be so crazy. So it's I don't know. I'm nervous about it too, but hopefully it's good.
It's one of those situations where like just the people who own the IP, you just wonder how much they really care about it, because this just could go a lot further to be like, you know, this is the definitive way to play a game. Because I think if you're charging that much for it, it should be, you know, it should have tons of options. It should have a great, because like I have a feeling, you know, the PC version is probably going to be really janky. It's probably like it might have graphical issues or crash or something. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't give me a ton of faith, but we'll see. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's good that it's available. More people will play it. It brings it back, but it could go further.
We'll see, and we'll see about the remake. Here's some more really interesting news. And you know, I think some people say we're biased towards Sony, but this is some tough news from The Verge. Sony is raising PlayStation Plus prices up to $40 per year. Okay. Sorry, that was a little misleading, because I think some prices are going up by $40. Like it's getting very expensive. The cheapest tier is going up from $60 a year to $80 a year. Sony is raising the price of PlayStation Plus subscription next month. The service's annual essential plan will go from $60 to $80. The extra plan will go from $100 to $135, and the premium plan from $120 to $160. The new pricing goes into effect starting September 6th. If you're currently subscribed to PlayStation Plus, Sony says the price increase won't take effect until your next renewal date or after November 6th. However, if you make any changes to your subscription, such as upgrades, downgrades, or buying additional time, you'll have to pay the new rate. Sony says the price hikes will go into effect globally and will allow the company to, quote-unquote, continue bringing high-quality games and value-added benefits to the service. It adds that the yearly plans will come at a discounted rate as opposed to the 1 or 3 month subscriptions that it offers.
Isn't that nice? How generous of them.
This is a wild.
This is egregious. When I saw people talking about this initially, I thought I misread. I was like, I think paying for the basic online services on console is a scam as it is. I understand that servers and stuff cost money, but like, there are, you know, PC storefronts do it for free. It's ridiculous to even pay $60. I thought $60 a year is overpriced in general. It's a lot of money to just get access to like your multiplayer games, basically.
Exactly. Access to multiplayer games like friends. And I think since we've started using, I think maybe sometimes we get some things conflated, because when we were young gamers, like you played for Xbox Live Gold, you were paying for like to like log in, to like connect to the service, which I think even if we didn't pay for PlayStation Plus, I could probably still sit in a party with you. I think.
I don't even know.
Or I could
honestly.
I could at least see the friends list. Like I think like baseline connecting to the PlayStation Network, connecting to Xbox Live, I think without a subscription you can at least connect. I think. I could be wrong. But like
this is just insane, man, because like I'm sorry, but the quality of the service and what you're offering does not align with that price. That is insane. Like maybe if you're someone who plays everything on the PS Extra library, like
yeah,
maybe, but even then it's like that is so much money. Like
it's a
to
lot
now
of money.
have to pay $80 a year just to
exist with your friends online.
Cloud saves and to play play Rocket League online. It's like that's just
this is basic stuff. And yes, you do get the free game every month, but most of those games you're not going to play. You're not going to play most of the games that you get. Like they're generally not putting the new hits in those free games. Like you're not getting the best of the best. And sometimes you do get really good stuff, but like for the most part, it's not going to be worth $80 a year.
Yeah, they need to. I'm very curious because I get it. You can make the inflation argument, but like I feel like an adjustment for inflation would be like
10%,
maybe 10. Yeah, like a much smaller one that would be even across the price tiers. The fact that they're different increases and $20 for the lowest one is just. There's two scenarios here. One, someone just crunched the numbers and like the risk assessment was like, we can charge more and we'll make more money, and like that's it, without worrying about the effect on the brand. Or maybe this will coincide with like a new state of play or some big push for some new announcements or new additions to the service, because I feel like it has to be. It's like if the service remains exactly the same as it is,
which I'm expecting it to. I'm expecting it to remain the same. They're saying there's really added value. I don't see what added value there will be for $80, like in the baseline service.
I really don't know.
I started paying for PS Plus Extra because I do think PS Plus Extra is pretty good. Like you can see stars. It's probably like the closest thing to their Game Pass equivalent. And when you look at Game Pass, Tom Warren, and when he tweeted this article, he actually mentioned that this is kind of following Xbox's price hike that happened a couple months ago. Yeah. And I think the Game Pass Ultimate, so if you're a PC gamer and you want Game Pass, it's about $16.99 a month, which comes out to like $204 a year. That's a lot of money, dude. $204 a year. And you see that, and you look at the new price here for PS Plus Extra, which I think is the closest to the Game Pass. So you're looking at $135 versus $204. Now up front, you're like, wow, PS Extra, that's a lot cheaper. But
what a deal!
What a deal! But I think if you are a newer gamer, or if you haven't hit a lot of the Game Pass catalog, I think that you get a lot more value. There's a lot more options, a lot more choice in the Xbox Game Pass catalog. Maybe not year over year. Once you drain out that catalog, Game Pass, it's been a little bit slow in what comes to Game Pass, but what's already there, you do get a lot of value. So I think if you are someone who's like questioning one of these services or the other, there is a like $70 difference, but I think you will get a lot more value for a Game Pass, at least for a year or two, if you were like bursting through the catalog. PlayStation, I think, probably has more high quality games, but I think there's a lot fewer on the PS Extra.
I just hate the fact that it feels like everything is pushing towards that upselling of like the subscription streaming game library stuff, because like it's cool, but I don't need that, and I don't really personally really want that anymore, because the things that I play, I'm very picky about the things that I'll buy. So it's like, yes, there's the cheaper version here, but now you feel like a weird second class citizen.
Yep.
Where it's like, well, you still have to pay out the ass. And then it feels like they're kind of saying like, well, if you just pay a little bit more, then you'll get all this other stuff. And it's like, if you're going to raise the price of the ones that have the library, the basic tier that doesn't have anything should be less. Yep. You should have kept that price the same, or maybe even lowered it, because then you can, really make the value deal proposition with like the higher price stuff. It's like,
and this is something that the CMA actually pointed out too, was like price increases will negate added value in terms of like if the Activision Microsoft merger happens, like price increases will like immediately void out the value that you get from having those games on Game Pass, which I think will be inevitable. I think we'll see a more of a hike to this service again and Game Pass. But also you have insane things like people paying $204 a year for Game Pass, and now you have to wait a week extra to play Starfield. You're not even getting day one release anymore. And I'm stealing this from Bob Wolf, at Bob Wolf on Twitter, friend of the show, who said that is no longer a day one release on Game Pass. You were paying for something. You were told you would get day one game releases. You are now getting day 5 game releases because early access is day 1.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I agree.
It's ridiculous. So these companies are getting out of hand with this. It's really getting insane. It's really getting nuts.
It's just so wild. I'm like, what could they possibly say? I'm even thinking like, okay, they announce a state of play, tomorrow. Like, what could they possibly say that would make this feel like a reasonable price increase? Like, all their first party titles will also be on the service, similar to Game Pass. Like, I don't think they're going to do that. I feel like Sony would, that doesn't seem like their MO. They feel like they've got that, the status of, the prestige releases like Spider-Man, God of War, Last of Us. And it's like, I don't know. I had the extra plan.
Yep.
But when the second this got announced, I went in and I swapped to the lowest because I was like, I am not going to pay $135 a year for this. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't even want to pay $80, but I will for now, because
to exist online,
to exist on PlayStation with my friends. It's like, it's really insane. Like this is a really odd kind of back foot to suddenly be on, where now I'm like, well, it's easy to when Sony and PlayStation have a good run, they're similar to Nintendo in that I feel like there's this ebb and flow with them of doing really, really well and then pushing the limits of what they can get away with their player base. And then whether that goes south, then like the PS4 era was incredibly pro-consumer in a lot of ways. That was actually such a great generation. And this is just such an odd decision, like raising prices of things, like lack of communication about certain stuff. Like it just feels like, we're going back into that. It's going to be that PlayStation again, know? And I don't want to have that for a whole generation.
And Microsoft, it's funny to think about Microsoft, right? Like, Microsoft used to do the same thing. Like they would like, oh, we're not going to make games shareable anymore. And then they backtracked on that. And they would do all these like A/B testings with how much they could get away with. Like we're saying, Nintendo and Sony are doing right now. But the flip side of that was at least Microsoft had a steady stream of very high quality games to match, which they haven't had in years. But that might change in 40 minutes if you paid $100 for the Starfield Premium Edition.
Oh, true. Yeah, you can jump right in. Day one, early access.
Hey, Game Pass users, you want to play Day One Starfield? $100, please.
Yeah, you paid $250 for your Game Pass subscription, but
look, like that is not something that I would not expect from Sony either. Like I'm shitting on Microsoft, but that's only because Microsoft is doing it right now. Yeah. I could easily see a day one PlayStation Extra promised game have a 5-day early access for premium, like easily.
Absolutely. Yeah, this just goes hand in hand with them, with Sony and PlayStation also making. We haven't seen the results of it so far, but so many things under the hood of like more of a direction towards like live service kind of stuff. They're experimenting with different multiplayer things, you know, more platforms that they can kind of, you know, have people play on. Like, I don't know, man.
I do have to make one correction, which the real Joxer in chat just pointed out, and he pointed this out to me earlier and today as well. But I keep forgetting this, and this is a fair point. If you have Game Pass, you do have access to the base version of Starfield, so you actually can pay for the premium upgrade for the early access and all the stuff that comes with the premium upgrade, which is only $30. So that is a little bit more digestible, but
Sure.
I still think it's dumb. I still think it's dumb, but that is at least a little bit more digestible.
That is nice. That's nice of them to offer that.
Aw,
Thanks, Microsoft.
But that is a fair correction. It's not $100. It is $30 if you have Game Pass to actually play the game day one. It's literally like getting a phone bill and you have all the extra fees in there. It's so stupid.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I have to pay it because I want to play the game. I want to use my phone. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm really curious if Sony's going to back this up or if they're just going to drop this
down. Yeah, I'm
drop this on a Wednesday
too.
And then just leave it and not acknowledge it in any way.
I'm interested to see. And I think we have to also see, like, if this sticks, you know, how much added value are we going to get? Are they going to bring their first party games more? What is the added value, Sony? Like tell us now. Do you have time to look at this last one?
Which one is it? Let's see.
Here, we'll do it quick. We can do it quick.
Pull it up. Yeah,
we'll do a quick
let's pull it up.
Also from The Verge, Call of Duty will use AI to moderate voice chats. First-person shooters like Call of Duty are somewhat infamous for their toxicity. Blah 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 blah. If you don't know what we're talking about, you missed out on your childhood. Activision has partnered with a company called Modulate to bring in a game voice chat moderation to their titles. The new moderation system using an AI technology called ToxMod, love that, will work to identify behaviors like hate speech, discrimination, and harassment in real time. ToxMod's initial beta rollout in North America begins today, effective immediately. So Volition, you're out. ToxMod, you're in. It's active within Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and Call of Duty Warzone. Blah, blah, blah. A full worldwide release will follow November 10th. The release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Modulate's press release doesn't include too many details about how exactly ToxMod works. Its website notes that the tool triages voice chat to flag bad behavior, analyzes the nuances in each conversation to determine toxicity, enables moderators to quickly respond to each incident by supplying relevant and accurate context. Yeah, I kind of hate this. Like, I think this is like incredibly. There's a part of this that's like incredibly invasive to me because like this means that every single time you talk over your mic is being listened to, right? And and when we found out that Xbox was going to use voice recordings as like as reporting tools, and I think when the Series X and S launched, they said like there was that big thing about like you're always being recorded, but like it won't. But they were like pretty assertive that like you won't be listened to outside of like when things are being investigated for like moderation purposes. But now it's like that's just being thrown out the window for you are always being listened to whenever you're talking in game, which like that's just so lame. That's just so stupid. And I know that there is toxicity in these games and it gets egregious, but like I don't know, like you're gonna make it's like going to a bar or something and like walking on eggshells to like not talk. Like people are just not going to play the game together anymore. Like there's going to be no communication on comms, on chat. Like people just aren't going to want that. That's gross. It's weird. It's big brothery.
My hot take on this is that I love it.
Really?
I think it's fantastic. I think that.
Well, you are a ToxMod yourself.
It's like I totally understand the privacy thing. Like I think that is a very legitimate concern. False flags, things that might get you banned, that like you misheard something. But for me, it's like, I'm sorry, man. Like you don't have a right to ruin someone's experience by being a racist piece of shit. Like,
yeah. But I think
that is rampant in these things.
Yeah,
and it's
100%.
like anything to actually have consequences for bad behavior, I think is a net positive. Like if you're talking in game, it's not private. Other people can hear you already. It's like you've kind of by agreeing to the terms of service.
And if people can take that voice, right? Take that voice clip now and send it to Microsoft and be like, "Yo, look at this dickhead. Like ban this person, whatever." I think that's a perfect compromise for the necessity to like punish people for being the worst. I think having something like this where we are being analyzed by some computer program, or we don't even know. We don't even know what's listening to us, right? Like we don't even know what's out there. But I think this is overkill. I think this is too much. But I do think I agree with you. Like I do think like it does need to be cleaned up in some fashion. I feel like the platforms have taken steps to start doing that. I think this is a bit of an overreach.
Sure. I wonder if it's an overreach to just kind of get a sense of how it works, and then maybe they'll pull something back or test it out and change it. It's a good question. Like I really do. I'm of two minds on it, because like I agree fundamentally that like a constant recording is weird, and there's like potential odd use cases for it, but it's just like, I don't know, man. There's this attitude that a lot of people have that like, oh, when you play an online game, you have to accept that people will say horrible things to you. And if you can't deal with that, then like, hey man, like toughen up. Like you wouldn't survive in the good old days. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like,
you clearly never been in a COD lobby.
Yeah. It's like, I'm sorry, man. Like the industry is not what it was. Like there are so many more people playing this. There's more kids playing. There's more people from marginalized groups playing. Like you need to create environments where people, it doesn't have to be a safe space. You need to create an environment where people don't feel like they are being targeted for their existence just to play an online game. It shouldn't be a compromise to say like, oh, just mute everybody when you jump in.
Yeah.
What if you want to use comms to communicate with people about strategy, or like fun trash talking where it's just like, hey man, like nice shot, asshole, or something like that. Like there's a difference between that kind of thing. And like theoretically, if they're saying that this is specifically to target like hate speech, then obviously there's the definition of what that is. But like, I don't know, man. It's like, I feel like there needs to be a period of time where you like, it is harsh to actually get people to act like decent human beings.
Yeah.
But then does it go so far that now you can't pull back from that? Yeah,
exactly. And how will I troll people in the kill mics? When I kill someone, how am I going to go? Bitch, easy, GG, easy, GG.
Yeah. Say something clever instead. Don't just call them the N-word. You know what I mean? It's dude, like there's
dude. You know we love throwing that word around. Don't catch me in a COD lobby. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I know I have my perspective on it doesn't align with a lot of other people, and like I agree with the privacy stuff, but it's like I personally have never found joy in trash talking and making other people feel bad in games. So for me, there's nothing really to fight back against in this. But I understand that for some people, that is part of the culture, and that it is hard to kind of be like, oh, people are coming in and changing something that has been this way forever, and that's the way I like it. Yeah. And that's valid, and I understand that. So it's like,
dude, stop ruining our culture. I'm actually taking applications
I'm the problem.
For a new host. This guy's never been in a COD lobby, and it shows.
I have to mute so many people because it's like you just hear so much horrible crap, and it's like
the only people I mute in COD are the people who like sound like the Dane Cook Burger King the Whopper. Yeah, the pickle skit. Whopper, no onion, but just constantly like they what is happening at your house? Are you in a Hurricane Adelia? Like what is going on?
Yeah. I guess it's not that I love the specifics of this kind of thing wouldn't be necessary if there were actual moderation, like proper moderation in platforms.
I agree.
Where you actually pay people whose job is to look at chat logs, respond to reports, listen to audio that's recorded as a result of a report. But these companies don't do that. They don't want to pay people to do that. And so as a result, reports often do absolutely nothing. Like harassment doesn't go anywhere. And it's like,
I agree.
This is the result of company just not wanting to actually put the work in, so they're going to pay an AI company to do it.
That's very true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
But I would prefer it to be the other way. But
I would prefer that it's something it's something more in the medium, something more of like what we see with like, hey, you can send in voice reports now, use like what you've heard to report people, and then we'll take care of it from there. Which I think is like a totally valid solution, or at least a valid first step towards like a real system that can have an impact. I think this is like a big overreach, but there's not that much details about how it's going to work. But I don't love that it's game level either. I don't love the solution here. I think it's too far in the one direction.
I think if there was like an actual, guarantee of like, oh, someone is being a real monster in this lobby, and like I'm going to report it, that will actually properly save the audio, send it, and a human being will look at it and analyze it. That would be the best solution, rather than having something constantly online being analyzed, because there's so much room for, what if you say a word that sounds like a bad word by accident, because you collided your words together. Fully AI stuff always has such room for mistakes. But again, it's like, I don't trust Activision. I don't trust any of these companies to actually respond to manual reports and like have people look at it. So it's like, if this is how they're going to approach it, then I don't know. I guess it's like you would be the AI if you could. This is, by the way, everyone who's listening, like this is Irish is the guy who, when we go into new MMOs, like when Lost Ark launched, we launched into Lost Ark, and I like lost track of Irish G for like 45 minutes, and we were like on a voice call. I was like, "Yo, where are you in the game?" You're like, "Oh, sorry, I've been sitting here in like the town square, like reporting people who are like saying slurs." It's like, hey man, I'm not the PC police. I just think there's literally a bar that is so low of just not saying hateful shit to people. It's like a very low bar to clear. But it's true, for some people they're like, oh man, like whatever, like that's part of the fun. And I'm like, it might be fun for you, but there are other people who might be playing some things for the first time, who deal with this stuff every single day in their life by the matter of their own existence. And like,
and the gamer culture as a whole needs like it needs to keep shifting away from its grassroots.
Because like, I'm not, again, like friendly trash talk and stuff like that is fun. It's totally fine. There's ways to do that. I love in-game chats. I wish it was more of a thing again, but it's just, there's that line between, what's funny and what isn't, which is subjective, but like, come on,
come on, people.
Get
together so we don't have to have the AI listening to us at all times.
Now I just don't engage with that stuff anymore. I'm like, and now I just mute people and move on. But I don't have the patience anymore.
I'm a big quick muter myself. All right, that was this week. I really enjoyed doing it on live. I know there were a bunch of comments towards the end that we didn't get to, but this has been a longer ep. But I appreciate everyone tuning in. We might do it live more often, honestly, because I really enjoy it. And we don't really edit this thing down very much after we record it anyway.
I feel like those were the hottest takes I've had on our podcast so far.
Dude, that was like grossly hot. I'm like sweating now. I turned my air conditioner back on.
I'm burning
up. Insane amounts of heat coming from Irish Tea today. wanting to have enjoyable gaming experiences.
How dare I?
But yeah, thank you everybody for joining. For anyone listening to the playback on this on YouTube or on the audio channels, you can find us at TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube at SRankPod. You can also start catching some live episodes or find my stream at twitch.tv/NoBananaSuits. I saw that the stream looked a little weird. I'll look into that to see if there's a way to fix that. I'm not sure if it's possible, but I'll see if there's anything that we can do, because we're doing it through the platform, not OBS. But appreciate everyone being here. This was a really good episode. You can find Irish Tea here at SeanWelshBrown on Twitter.
That's me.
And then for everybody watching, I'm gonna kick back over. I have to like end the stream and then start back up, so it'll be like 30 seconds between this and that. But I appreciate everyone being here, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.
See you later.